The Supreme Court's decision on the Voting Rights Act was an amazingly political decision. It was John Roberts, the politico, not John Roberts, the constitutional expert. People thought they were going to strike down Section 5, which was the section that requires that states that were guilty of voting rights violations get pre-clearance. He didn't strike that down. He struck down Section 4, which establishes which states and localities are subject to pre-clearance. So, okay, pre-clearance is fine, but it doesn't apply to anybody. That is kind of crazy, but that's where we are. I like to say no good deed goes unpunished, and so because African Americans mobilized and defied Republican governors' attempts to suppress their vote in 2012, and because they actually, for the first time in history, voted at a higher rate than white people, John Roberts can say, well, we did it, racism is over, and we don't need this kind of protection anymore. I think this puts the civil rights movement in a tough position, but it's a position that I feel people are welcoming. They're going to pursue this at the federal level. There will be a few Republicans who join on and say, we're going to modernize it, we're going to bring it back. I'm not sure that will pass, but it's an exercise worth pursuing. The other thing that I think has to happen, and I know that Benjamin Jealous at the NAACP and the leadership conference, people are talking about voting summer in 2014. That basically, while we fight these restrictions, we've got to be working, we've got to be doing a grassroots mobilization to get to the states where these new laws are taking effect. Let's help people get the voter ID they need. Let's make sure that while we fight in the courts and while we fight in the statehouses, we are also mobilizing and empowering voters to comply with these onerous restrictions. I know that sounds like punishing the victim, but I think it's just realism. This Voting Rights Act is key to all civil rights. It's key to women's rights, it's key to gay rights, it's key to labor rights. I was moderating a panel at Netroots Nation, and Ben Jealous of the NAACP was on my panel. And he said to this big crowd, nice crowd, whatever your first issue is, I respect that. Women's rights, gay rights, labor rights, environment. I respect that. That's your first issue. Voting rights is your second issue. They are showing us that they want to roll back not just the 1960s, they want to roll back the 1930s. They want to undo the New Deal.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
They want to undo the 20th century. They are trying to repeal the 20th century. I think that every member of the broad Democratic coalition needs to be profoundly engaged in this voting rights struggle, and I think people are starting to get that.